What's up? It's your man, Marv Glover.
And the diligent, vigilant, meticulous, sagacious, conscientious, analytical, methodical individual, the chiseled Adonis.
And welcome to the Hold My Nuggets podcast, here where we talk 50% sports, 50% real shit, 100% of the time. And if you don't like that, you can hold my nuggets.
Suck my dick.
Episode number 18 is here.
Yeah.
We live and we ready, and we have a special guest with us today. Not the chiseled Adonis. I don't know who this man is, because he don't sound like the chiseled Adonis.
Nah.
What happened?
Yeah, when you live stream 4 out of 6 days, your voice starts to leave. I can only speak with the bass in my voice. I get rid of it. Yeah, I sound like this.
Well, is that or the other one? Then, like, what does your natural voice sound like?
I can't do it without the.
You
I
sound.
gotta put the bass. I sound like I drive. I drive vans and ask kids if they like candy.
And you eat menthols for breakfast. You sound
perhaps.
bad. You sound like a hole. Or you have a hole.
I chew bricks.
Yeah. You gargle a broken glass. Something is wrong with your larynx. Your larynx.
Yeah.
It's gone.
Yeah, it looked like I've been trying to imitate Pop Smoke.
Yeah,
like,
either that.
This is 32 days. Listening to Pop Smoke. It is what you sound.
Yeah, you just on one of them late night like R&B hosts. Like, we're gonna take a nice little drive down memory lane.
And here we are on FM 87.3, and this is the Jazz Channel. Get yourself into a
It'll be one of those songs
magnificent mood, and then all the songs you listen. Bwee da bwada, bwee da boo, bwee da bwada, bwee. Ladies and gentlemen, that was.
What would your radio host name be? What would your name be? Chiseled Love? It has to be some weird shit.
Nah, it'd be Scratchy Throat.
Scratchy Throat. That's not R&B.
You know what?
At all.
That's not.
You gotta be smooth.
Somebody might just.
It might be different. You sound like a serial. That sounds like a serial killer name. Yeah.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen, we are live on FM 86 with Love Dumpster. And what we do here is we're gonna get you in a mood. See, we're going to make sure that you enjoy your night to maximum satisfaction. Are you there sitting there with your lady? You give her a kiss on the cheek. You let her know that the chiseled lover delivered to you the smooth jazz that you want to hear this evening. Have you ever been wondering if her clitoris has been pleasured?
Well, wait a minute. I don't know if that's from radio, brother. Wait a minute. Where did that come from? That was a sharp left.
What was it?
This is business. This is a kid's show. This is a children's show.
It's a kid's show.
This is a children's show. This is a family-friendly show.
Listen, ladies and gentlemen.
This man is disgusting.
When you tuned into 83.7,
oh my God,
and it's 3 a.m., and Scratchy Throat Chisel Lover.
Scratchy Throat Chisel Lover. That's your name?
Is live.
What the
I'm going to keep adding names as we go.
Okay.
All right. Love Doctor.
All righty.
In the building.
Well, you don't have your PhD, brother.
Oh, I don't need one. I got the GED.
All right, well.
It's 2019. Certifications is the way to go.
Indeed it is.
Degree ain't nothing but debt. But I tell you what's not debt.
Oh, no. Don't do this. Don't do this segue.
It's not debt.
Don't you dare. Don't you dare.
It's only live on 87.3.
Oh, my
Listening to the smooth jazz because you got to take your mind off things.
Oh, brother. Here we go.
You can't allow yourself to continue to feel bad about things. Let downs. See, when you come and you tune into FM 87.3, you don't want to be here in a bad mood. See, what we do is we pull you out of that bad mood.
Yes, we do.
When you step into the radio station and you had high expectations.
Okay.
You don't want to be dealt with degradation. And you want to know where that came from? Them boys, because I'd like to know.
Oh, brother.
How was it like, as a Cowboys fan, watching those Philadelphia Eagles fly, Eagles fly, on the way to victory. Fly, Eagles fly. Getting the Cowboys the fuck out of the chances to win a Super Bowl trophy. Please explain to me what happened to them boys.
First of all, I respect
because I thought there was a big Dak.
There was.
A big Zeke.
Big Coop.
A big Coop. And a big me.
Yeah.
But evidently there was a miniature Dak, a non-existent Zeke. Evidently Amari Cooper took a bathroom break because he had to go poop. And where were you?
Home crying. I was at home.
At home crying.
Tears of pain.
No, it wasn't tears of pain. It was tears of a voice. It was tears of a voiceover.
Okay.
It was tears of a musical cover because you was in the crib. Cry me a river.
That was me. That was what I was doing.
Cry me a river.
I'm not even a Justin Timberlake fan like that for you to be quoting like this. I don't appreciate this at all. I don't appreciate it.
Cry me a river.
You see, this is exactly why your voice fucked up. You be doing all of these different characters and shit. This is karma. That's what it is. No, hold on.
This is done. So I guess he believing.
This is karma for all of the asshole shit that you be doing in your commentaries. All the people you be coming for.
I guess he
right? This is some type of brujeria being done on your vocal cords. Yeah, that's the damages. Keep fucking around. No, keep fucking around. You're not gonna be able to speak at all. You're gonna be mute. You understand?
The Cowboys are done, so I guess they believe.
There's still some.
So please explain to me what just happened to them boys, because I'd like to know if you'd like to take the L out of Lover and say it's over, brother.
Oh no, yeah, season done. It's over. We're finished. I listen. I came to terms with this. Okay, in the beginning of the season, right? Even after the three game losing streak, we came on a podcast and I said, it looks like if we're gonna win the division, it's not gonna be a runaway crown, nothing like that, like the way I thought it was gonna be. Ultimately, I knew it was gonna come down to the last stretch, given especially that the last, I think, 2 or 3 games for both two games were gonna be back-to-back divisionals for both teams.
Yeah.
Right? And when I said that, I thought 10-6 would win the division, huh? And you looked me in my face, you're like, no, 8-8 or 7-9. I'm like, 8-8, 7-9. You being disrespectful. Here we are. Both teams. Well, I think we're both 7-8 right now.
No. The Cowboys 7-8.
Yeah,
and the Eagles 8-7.
Yeah.
But I said 7-9, 8-8,
yeah,
or 9-7.
And here we are.
Indeed.
And in order for us to make the playoffs, statistically speaking, it is still possible.
Oh, absolutely.
But not only do we have to beat the Redskins, but the Eagles would have to lose to the Giants as well. Both things need to happen. Not one or the other. Both things need to happen. And for that reason and that reason alone, season's done. It's over. I just, first and foremost, I have more faith in the Eagles losing to the Giants than I do in the Cowboys beating the Redskins, especially since Dwayne Haskins isn't going to be the one in the backfield. It's going to be Case Keenum, right? You understand? Even if it was Dwayne Haskins, at this point, I don't know what to expect from this team, because all the expectations I have from them ultimately were crushed. I don't know. And quite frankly, another question that needs to be asked is, do we even want to make the playoffs, given what this season has been? You had two 3-game losing streaks. And when you look at the stretch of games that we've lost all throughout the season, there was never a game that we got blown out by. All of them were very, very winnable games. You understand? We never got, not even by the Patriots. You understand? All the games that we lost, it always ultimately came down to just bad play calling in a couple of stretches, or just players just straight up not showing up. And I'm hurt. I'm really hurt. This is painful. What did you think about what's happening?
I'll say this much. The Cowboys this year are the Chargers of the NFC.
Wow.
That's exactly what they are.
That's tough.
High expectations and then an amalgam of underperformance.
Right.
From what I've seen thus far this season, especially with them continuing to struggle against teams with winning records. Their first victory being against the Los Angeles Rams, and they go right backwards when they played against the Philadelphia Eagles. You just see a team that has no identity.
At all.
Zeke had 13 carries for 47 yards, I believe.
Against the Eagles?
Yeah.
I
think Amari Cooper had 4 catches for maybe 20-some yards, or maybe 42 yards.
Right.
Dak was maybe about 50% on his completion on passes for, I think, under 300. I don't think he threw over 300. So whatever the case may have been, this team offensively has no identity. Defensively, you look at the names, you think they can still perform. That is not the case.
No,
they're not playing very good football.
Right.
So from what I'm seeing, this is exactly what they get. And who would you say is the biggest contributor? Because I would point the finger at Jason Garrett and also Jerry Jones.
Okay.
Because I think Jerry Jones has been so complacent to where he has said, all right, I'm going to get comfortable. And because Jason Garrett was my quarterback in the 90s, although it was Troy Aikman, but his backup was Jason Garrett. Because it was Thanksgiving Day, and Jason Garrett led them on a comeback, I believe, against the, was it the Green Bay Packers? I can't remember who it was against. But because he has that great relationship with Jason Garrett, he continued to allow this man to exist. And I saw Des Bryant shared a tweet where he said that Jason Garrett has wasted the primes of Tony Romo.
Yep.
Des Bryant himself.
Yep.
DeMarco Murray. Tyron Smith. You still had Martin that was up there. You had Sean Lee, Tank Lawrence, DeMarcus Ware, and the list continues to go on. Even Jason Witten. All of these guys wasted under the regime of Jason Garrett. So I'd point the finger at Jason Garrett.
It's absolutely painful. Before I get into that, just to piggyback off the point that you made, when you talk about a team with no identity, I mean, man, coming into the season, right? When we talked about this team, we looked at what we saw on paper, and the talent screamed, "Oh yeah, Super Bowl! Oh, they're running away with the NFC. It's a given." But then now you look, I mean, on the offensive side of the ball, if it's not one thing, it's the next. One game, we're just not giving Zeke enough touches, so he can't really get going, right? Then when you look at the receivers. There's some games where you almost forget that Amari Cooper is the number one option with the way that he's looked, and oftentimes the way that he's been used. Gallup, I mean, my goodness, I think he must come from the Aguilar family tree. It must be, because this man's hands, in your famous quote, his hands are for decoration. The amount of drops, the amount of balls that he's just not coming down with. Pause. I can't do it. I can't deal with it anymore. He's a very talented receiver, has a lot of promise, but he just can't seem to come down with the ball most.
You got to hit up Michael Sam. He knows what to do with balls.
Well, you do that. See, brother, that when you took the left turn, you just did. This is a family show. You gonna stop being disrespectful. You gotta stop being disrespectful.
Okay,
leave that man alone. He's not even in the league anymore. He's not even in the league anymore. He's doing whatever it is that he's doing.
Fair enough. Maybe not Michael Sam. Just hit up somebody who got blue eyes. I know Elton John's in the building.
Staying on
here all night
on top of football. You understand? And then on O-line, the signature almost of our team. We aren't. They're ultimately a shell of themselves.
They're getting up there in age now.
Not only just age, but also injury as well. I think earlier this year,
Tyron Smith has missed a number of games.
He's been cooked. You understand what I'm saying? La'el Collins dealt with some injuries early on. Zach Martin
indeed.
also.
Zach Martin as well, and Travis Federick had just came back this year.
So our O-line has been a shell. Remember, that was what made the Cowboys back-to-back years where we were just drafting the O-linemen in the first round, and now ultimately they just don't look what they used to be. And then on offense, I think the only person that's looked the most consistent of them all is Dak. I mean, at one point in time in the season, you could argue, even now, he was top 5 MVP candidate. Now, as he's starting to do his play, is starting earlier on in the season.
How early are we talking? Week 3?
Okay, that now somewhere like in the early.
We would probably have to go week 3. By week 3, he was still in there. Afterwards, not necessarily.
Even though the team wasn't winning, his stats were still.
No, his stats were there, but I can't necessarily say MVP.
I'm not saying he was top.
No, I'm like top 5 in voting.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah,
but it's far too early.
I understand. I'm just
I was on the ballot for MVP.
I don't know about that, brother, but. You understand, like, in terms of he's looked the most consistent of all the pieces on offense. And then defensively, I mean, we have a guy named DeMarcus Lawrence. I don't know about you. I haven't really seen much from him. I don't think he's had a sack since week 9, I believe.
Good Lord.
You understand what I'm saying? So we just paid this man a bucket load of money.
And he was in the media talking, I think,
crazy
earlier this week.
About I don't know about earlier this week, but I remember the first meetup with the Eagles. He was talking shit about them.
He had something to say regarding, I think, leadership.
Okay,
where it said everything is out of whack. From what I've seen, this team is just, it's bad.
Right.
It's bad. So what would you say is the solution?
Okay.
Or steps towards a solution, because there's no contrite solution. So what steps do you think has to be taken, at least by Jerry Jones, because it is his team?
Right.
So what do you think should happen?
Well, I mean, you got to look at who's the biggest contributor, right, to their lack of success thereof. And I think, like I said before, it starts with coaching. First and foremost, you got to get rid of Jason Garrett. When you look at this man, and like you said, you talk about the primes of so many talented players that we've had on this team that he's wasted. But then on top of that, I'm looking at things like effort, right? And how the team, the body language of players, like when they're on the sideline, and even before certain games, and how there are a lot of games, once again, that we could have won, but we came out super duper flat, and it wasn't until the fourth quarter, everyone's kind of looking at each other like, oh shit, we could actually kind of win this. And they try and rally back and corral back, but they just they just can't seem to get it done. So I think ultimately they have to move on from Jason Garrett. He is what he is. He is an average NFL coach, and it doesn't seem like the players really care much for him either. You never really heard about anybody throughout this entire season speak up for him. I think that before the past game against the Eagles, they were like, he gave like a very motivational pep talk or whatever it is maybe. But for the most part, you haven't heard anybody on his team say, that's my coach. I want to play for this man. You don't see anyone show that they want to play for this man. So that's the move number 1. Move number 2, I think we got to pay Dak Prescott. I personally, I hear all this talk about franchise tagging and things of that nature. But for me, it's like, he's shown you that he's more than deserving of the money, right? This man's been to a Pro Bowl. He's shown you that he can win in the postseason, albeit it hasn't been on a consistent basis. But compared to the other quarterback in the NFC East that he's constantly getting juxtaposed with, who hasn't shown you what he can do in the postseason, he's done that. And then on top of that, he's been reliable. The man hasn't missed a game ever since his rookie season. He's not a liability on and or off the field, right? And for the most part, at the quarterback position, what the NFL has shown you is that good in terms of getting paid is good enough. Go ask Kirk Cousins.
Absolutely.
Dak Prescott deserves to get paid. All this talk about franchise tagging is only going to sully the relationship between him and management. So I think that's it. And then third, I have an asterisk next to it because nobody's really been talking about this, but I think it's something they should at least explore. I would say they should look into trying to trade Van Der Esch. Now let me explain why. I think that ultimately, he's still an extremely young player, but the neck injuries, we want to talk about an injury just in general that you don't mess with. The neck is a very, very serious thing, especially for a position like linebackers where tackling, of course, is the number one priority. I think that the Cowboys should definitely explore trying to move him, given that he's still young. When he is available, when he is healthy, he has shown you what he can do. And I think that if they try to move him, they can possibly maybe get like a second or a third for him, maybe, depending on what team could bite. And also, I think it would send a message to not just everyone on defense, but everyone on the team in general, that Jerry is serious about winning. And that if you're not performing to the highest level, or if you're not available, if you show any form of expendability whatsoever, we will move you, because we need to do any and everything that we can to win. So I would explore doing that. I know that's a kind of like what's the word I'm looking for? It's kind of like a wild card kind of mood, but that's something that I think those are the top three things that need to get done.
I like that, because that would send a message. However, a lot of people would have to be moved if he really wants to send that message, and it'll resonate, because you've allowed Jason Garrett to be here this long, and the fact that you don't have to feel as if Jason Garrett has to come back because his contract will expire. So the way I see it is, I do like the idea of exploring the trading of Van Der Esch, but perhaps moving a lot of other people as well.
Such as?
Perhaps, for one, I would look into trading Van Der Esch. That's one. Two, I would say with Cooper, I would put it out there as if, all right, because Cooper has been, he's been playing better now that he's on Dallas. However, there's still a ton of inconsistencies.
Right.
So you have to show that I'm willing to move everybody. And Dak, I do believe Dak should be paid, because if Cousins got paid, if Goff got paid and had the season that he just had, if Keenum had gotten paid, all of these guys, if all these guys get paid, it's impossible that you don't pay Dak.
Right.
But for Jerry, on offense, the one lone bright spot thus far this season has been Dak.
Right.
And defensively, last year, you had your Byron Jones, you had your Tank Lawrence, you paid Lawrence. And Jalen Smith got paid as well.
Right.
So for those
who also didn't really perform up to par this
not.
season.
So all of those guys who are deserving of getting paid, pay them. All the other guys who have a question mark by them, explore trading them.
Right.
Show this offseason you're willing to blow everything up.
So
however, there still is hope.
Right, of course.
Because if they're able to win and Philly loses, they'd make it into the playoffs. Now, the question would be who they play. Because this Sunday night, you have the Seattle Seahawks hosting the San Francisco 49ers in the battle for the NFC West. Winner takes that division crown. However, for San Francisco, if they win, they are automatically the number 1 seed. If they lose, they drop to 5. Seattle will go to 4, depending on what happens with Green Bay. And, with New Orleans will already take precedent over them. So I believe it would be Green Bay number 1, New Orleans 2, and Seattle would jump to that 4 slot. No matter what happens, I believe they'll be at that, 3 slot, pardon me. They'll jump to the 3 slot. So who do you think is going to lose the NFC West crown? Because that's who will ultimately be in the wild card. Well, I should say who's going to win. That sounds better.
Well, who's going to win? I think ultimately the 49ers are going to come out on top, given what is going on right now in Seattle, right? Well, before I get into why I think the 49ers are going to win, let's address what's going on in Seattle, because big news has happened, right?
Absolutely.
Beast mode back.
Yeah, the mode of beast.
The beast mode. Marshawn Lynch. You know, like they actually used to tell me. That
never happened.
Back in my, you didn't even let me say what I was going to say. Back in my running back days.
It's false.
Well, no, I'm saying. Let me finish.
Fiction.
I'm just trying to tell you.
Completely fabricated.
We'll talk about it off air. But beast mode back. Right? The team has been dealing with a litany of injuries, mainly, of course, at the running back position. They lose
they lost Rashad Penny 2 weeks ago. No, 3 weeks ago.
Rashad Penny, Chris Carson.
And then lost
I think
Carson.
CJ
Procise has gotten hurt as well.
So 3 running backs down.
Absolutely.
They had to make some calls. They signed Marshawn Lynch, and they also signed Turbin. What's his first name?
Robert, maybe. I believe it's Robert Turbin.
Robert.
Perhaps. Yes.
Right. And now, of course, because of the legend of Beast Mode and the personality and things of that nature.
The
mystique of Beast Mode.
Absolutely.
There is reason, I guess, to get excited because of who he is. But ultimately, in terms of the productivity that we bring forward to the team, I don't know about you, but for me personally, I'm not really expecting all that much. Mm-hmm. I mean, when you look at it, we know that Seattle wants to run the football, right? Well, Chris Carson, before he got injured, he had like almost more than 1,200 yards on the season, 7 touchdowns, 4.4 yards a carry. Penny, I think, had like about 300. So this is a team that wants to run the football. But at this point in the season, you're not really going to find any great free agent running backs that are sitting home at the couch. So you have to make a call to a Marshawn Lynch, to a Turbin, guys that have played in the system before, that you know and you're familiar with, and that you can figure can give you something. But ultimately, the last time we saw Beast Mode was in Oakland, right? And I think, it says right here, 376 yards, 3 touchdowns in 6 games, right? 4 yards on carry before he got hurt, and then ultimately haven't heard from him since.
Yes.
So for me personally, right, given what we last saw from Marshawn Lynch, I think that once he comes back into the groove of things with the Seattle Seahawks, I don't really expect much given his age and given the kind of running back that he is. He's the prototypical downhill running back, big-bodied guy. He's going to, hit the gaps hard, and once he gets in the open field, he's damn near impossible to take down. But for the most part, I think if you're able to get like 50, 60 yards from him, great. But ultimately, it's not really going to do all that much. But then when you look at this team as a whole, I mean, you talk about the injuries. One of the biggest problems that they're dealing with right now, the offensive line is decimated. They lost their left tackle, Dwayne Brown. I believe he's having knee problems. Then their center, right? You're talking about the 2 most important positions on the O-line. I think his name is like Justin Britt, I believe. He's also having some knee problems as well. I don't know if he's going in for surgery, but I know Dwayne Brown is going in for surgery. So you have that. Russell Wilson has been getting abused back there, and we know him to be an escape artist, but there's only so much that he can do performing behind that terrible offensive line. I think on the season he's been sacked at least 47 times.
That's ridiculous.
We're not even talking about quarterback hits, quarterback rushes, things of that nature. You understand what I'm saying? So given how bad of a shape that this team is in, going up against the juggernaut that is the 49ers, it's hard for me to see them coming out on top. What do you think?
I said that the 49ers would lose this division to Seattle.
You did.
I said that it'd come down to week 17 and the Seattle Seahawks would beat the 49ers twice. And I said they would sweep them. I'm not going to pull back on my prediction just yet. Now, I don't believe that Marshawn Lynch will walk in and have over 100 yards. I don't think that's going to be the case. 50 or 60 would be ideal. Russell Wilson's offensive line absolutely decimated. He had 4 sacks last week from Chandler Jones alone. So Nick Bosa's going to be coming.
He's going crazy.
Buckner's going to be coming. Armstead's going to be coming. Those guys will be firing on all cylinders. And I believe D Ford is healthy. He's going to be coming too. So it's going to be an uphill battle for Seattle. However, no bars, but they're playing at home in CenturyLink.
They are.
Arizona walked in there and gave him the beats by Drake. Kenyon, I only watched Degrassi for the attempted murder of Drake, went out there and ran for 166 yards and 2 TDs. So you look at defensively, you have questions about Seattle. Offensively, you have questions about Seattle. But I have 0 questions about Russell Wilson. And when you come to a situation when you need big-time players to make big-time plays in big-time games, there's just something about Russell Wilson that I can't bet against. All favors point in the direction of San Francisco. But for some reason,
I know what you mean.
When there's a will, there's a way.
That's the guy.
And we saw Russell Wilson pull Seattle out of the damn dirt in the first game against the 49ers and got themselves a W. I think he's going to do the exact same thing. I think they're going to come out high energy because Beastmode is back. So those guys the guys who are ticky-tacky, they're going to rally around that energy. The 49ers will do what the 49ers do. Pornstar Jimmy G, who's impressed me all season, will go out there and play good football.
Right.
But I do believe Russell Wilson is going to have one of those virtuoso performances. And then that's going to be enough for them to go win and send San Francisco to the wild card round. And then they give the Beast by Dre to whether it's the Cowboys or Eagles in the first round. But whatever the case may be, I got the Seattle Seahawks winning this particular game and winning the division. Now, that makes me wonder about in the AFC, there's only one slot left because in the NFC, all of the playoff spots are pretty much locked. You know what teams, or I should say, what teams are remaining.
Right.
So, but for the AFC, that last wild card slot has 3 teams vying.
Oh, yeah.
The Tennessee Titans, the Pittsburgh Steelers,
yes, sir,
and the Oakland Raiders. And this is going to be interesting because with this 3 team, now with Pittsburgh losing back-to-back, they no longer control their own destiny. Tennessee controls their own destiny, and Oakland needs a whole lot of help.
A whole lot.
They got Purunga and Shenron on the ready because their Dragon Balls have already been gathered by those Gruden grinders. So I'll ask you, who do you think gets that last slot?
It's interesting because the situation here we have right now is this. All the Titans need to do is win. And they have the playoff slot, like you said. Now, in the case of the Steelers need to win and for the Titans to lose, right? Or they need, I think, Tennessee to lose. They need the Colts to win, and then they need Oakland to lose. One of those two. And now, as for the Raiders, I mean, they need to win and for Tennessee to lose, and for Pittsburgh to lose, and for the Colts to win, or some other. I mean, it's absolute pandemonium. Now, of those 3 teams, if we had to throw one out the way, Raiders, I'm sorry, it's just too many. They just need too much.
Absolutely,
right? So now what you have is ultimately it comes down to the Titans or the Steelers. You're Steelers, and you're smiling from ear to ear. Listen, for me personally, I'm gonna have to roll with the Titans, man. And I'm gonna let you get into it. But look, man, here's the deal. Right now, the Steelers, I think they're going to play at MNC
at Baltimore.
In Lamar Jackson, Mark Ingram, and a couple other starters won't be playing. Right. So I think RG3 is going to be starting. So this will be the most opportune time for them to step up and seal the deal. But I just don't, even though the Baltimore starters won't be playing, I can't see it happening, and I'm going to let you get into it, just because of how anemic that Pittsburgh offense has been. It's funny because the conversation with the Pittsburgh Steelers for years past has always been about what? The defense. Now, the one year that the defense steps up, the offense, we got to put an APB out for him. It's looking really, really bad. We don't know if it's Duck Hodges. We don't know if it's fucking, what's the other dude's name? Mason Rudolph. It's looking rough.
Whack-a-mole.
It's looking rough. But hypothetically speaking, even if the Pittsburgh Steelers were able to rally around themselves and come out with the dub against the Ravens, you still would have to rely on the Tennessee Titans coming out with the coming out with the L. And for me personally, I just can't see it happen. You have a Tennessee Titans team that's going into NRG
Houston
Stadium to play them. They lost the last time they met. I think they only lost by 3 points.
Yes.
This is their second and last meeting. The Tennessee Titans, man, getting Ryan Tannehill and moving that man to the starting position has given them life from start to finish. Even when they had Marcus Mariota, there's always been something about the Titans. They've always been like this nitty gritty, tough. They're not going to go down without a fight kind of team. But getting Tannehill really resurged this team in a way that, I mean, we haven't seen in quite some time. And for me, even though they lost their last meeting to Texans, I just can't realistically see them going into this divisional matchup, knowing they lost, knowing what's on the line, knowing who they are and what they're fighting for. I'm going to have to roll with the Titans. And yourself?
I'll say this much. Regarding Oakland, because Oakland needs a lot of help.
They do.
And they need, I believe the last week of the season, they're playing against Denver.
Right.
So from the way I see it, them defeating Denver, that seems feasible. But the Colts having to take down the Jags, that's something that can happen, but who knows how that'll play out, because I guess it's last game, Gardner Minshew, who knows what he'll do. I think he's going to play spoiler, beat the Colts, and ultimately, tarnish that happening. Now with the Steelers, playing against the Ravens. It is a winnable game, but I think they will win, but I believe that Tennessee will win as well. This is why I believe Pittsburgh will win. Defensively, or I should say offensively for the Ravens, every time we've seen RG3 outside of when they played against Miami, he has not really came in and put together a drive. Right. So, and with no run game, in the sense of Mark Ingram not playing and it's going to be Gus Edwards. Gus Edwards a very good player. I played against him when I was in high school.
But do you really?
Regardless, yes, indeed.
Are you serious?
Yes, I did.
That's
so,
okay.
Yeah, man. But I don't believe that Baltimore's offense will be able to get things going. Okay. In that sense, I believe they'll score on their opening drive, and then that will be it. I believe Pittsburgh will catch a couple of interceptions. T.J. Watt will show why he should be the defensive player of the year, and more importantly, on the offensive side, I believe they're going to continue to be anemic for Pittsburgh. However, I think Juju will make those plays. I think Connor, well, then again, Connor might not play, but whatever the case may be, I think they're going to make enough plays on offense, probably score about 17 points or so, do just enough to go ahead and get the W. Now, here's where things shift because the Tennessee Titans taking on Houston, where they lost to Houston the first time around, and both the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Tennessee Titans have lost 2 consecutive games and 2 games that they needed to win because Tennessee, they needed to keep pace in their division, and had they defeated the Texans, they would have taken the first slot and control their own destiny. Right. And then losing last week against the Saints actually benefited them because Pittsburgh lost. Right. So from where we sit right now, and Pittsburgh losing to the Bills and then losing to the Jets, both these teams had all of the momentum and then had that swept from underneath them. Right. But for Pittsburgh, they have starters on the Baltimore side that's rested. For Tennessee, who knows what Houston will do, because they can't ascend in the rankings at all. They know they're going to play against Buffalo. So who's to say if they play their starters, and if their starters, don't play, I cannot see a circumstance in which Houston doesn't lose this game. So I think it's going to go to Tennessee. And initially, as I told you before, when we were talking about who's going to have that final slot, I said it's going to be Tennessee's a lock for me. Right. And then the other slot would be either Buffalo or Pittsburgh. Yeah. Now that Buffalo has gotten the lock, I believe Pittsburgh will win their last game, but ultimately, Tennessee's not going to blow it. So I got Tennessee taking that last playoff slot, man.
Now, real quick, I want to go back to the NFC West, because there was a name that you mentioned that we didn't get a chance to get into, and you said something very interesting about a certain quarterback, all right, by the nickname, as Stephen A. Smith would call him, Pornstar Jimmy. Absolutely. Right? This is the man who will be leading the 49ers in their last regular season game going up against the Seattle Seahawks. And he's had quite the interesting season, given what it was last season once he got injured with the ACL. I got to ask you, given what you've seen from Jimmy Garoppolo, because there have been some naysayers and some high praisers, what are your thoughts on Pornstar Jimmy? Is he the real deal?
I would say so. Okay. I would say so, because although San Francisco is powered by that defense and their defensive coordinator who looks like an angry Jason Taylor,
he does.
Offensively, the real leader behind it, regardless of the successes of Tevin Coleman, Raheem Mostert, Richie James, there's another running back I'm forgetting. Matt Breida. All of these guys, even George Kittle's play and Emmanuel Sanders, and they've been fantastic. Right. Jimmy G has been the one, or I should say the battery, that is in their backs. Right. And you got to give credit where credit's due, man.
Yes, sir.
This man, he's the real deal for me.
Yep.
I believe he'll be able to play at an Excelsior level in the postseason. If they do drop to that 5 seed, I think he's going to get a playoff win, even if he's that 1 seed, depending on who they play. And most likely, they will end up playing against... I do not see Minnesota winning. So most likely, if they are the 1 seed, they're going to have a rematch for the NFC West again. So I do foresee the NFC West meeting again in the divisional round. So where I believe Jimmy G will get at least 1 playoff win, as long as, if he sees Seattle again, he will beat them. I don't think Seattle will beat them 3 times. Right. But yeah, I do believe he's going to get a playoff win. I believe this man's the real deal, man.
Now, listen, for me personally, especially when you talk about him, the biggest thing, of course, we talk about stats and all these other different things, but you listen to the way the teammates around him talk about this guy. I mean, you got guys on defense coming out, Richard Sherman, I think even a Nick Bosa coming out and basically saying he's the leader of the team. We go as far as he leads us to be. And of course, there were some question marks given, we weren't really sure what happened. He got the big money to come to the 49ers, misses all of last season with the ACL. But I mean, I got to give it to him, man. I don't want to say yet that he's the real deal, because for me that gets proven in the postseason, because that's of course when it matters most.
Absolutely.
But I mean, you got to get, based off what we've seen in the regular season alone, men showed up and showed out. All right, statistically, we're talking about a 68.5% completion percentage, 3,693 yards, 27 touchdowns. He does have to do a better job at taking care of the football.
Absolutely.
13 interceptions.
It
and
was
13
rough
fumbles
early in the season. It was very rough.
He has to do a better job of that. But ultimately, I mean, like, once again, at the quarterback position, good is good enough. The man has shown you that he can come in and win football games. And I think his signature win, I forget against what team it was. I think it was either was it the Rams? I don't remember.
I believe
where
it was
the last drive and they needed him to go down and then set him up for the field goal. The Saints. That was a great game. That was a really, really good game.
Absolutely.
That was the game that made me go, oh yeah, this is the guy. You understand? That was the game where it had to make you stop and go, okay, no, there's no question.
And even this past Saturday night, against Los Angeles, the Rams, with everything on their line, fighting for their playoff lives. What happens? They tie up the game. Legatron, Greg Zuerlein kicks it through the uprights. Good. It's tied at 31. Boom. What do we see? 3rd and 16. Jimmy G connects with Kendrick Bourne, gets you 18. 3rd and 16. He connects with Emmanuel Sanders, 46 yards, and puts him in field goal range. So this is, and even against the Saints, 4th and 2. He connects with George Kittle, who's able to get beyond the first down marker. And then Kittle, hey, I'm going to take you on a ride, Marcus Williams. Come along with me, Bort. And carries him into field goal range. So it's just something about this guy, Jimmy G. And he has that charisma. He has that, that energy, that swagger that galvanizes people around him. Not only does he attract porn stars, he's able to get his teammates to want to play good football, man. I'd say he's the real deal, man.
Yeah, man.
I'd say he's the real deal.
I love what I'm seeing from him. He's absolutely stunning. And then, like I said, when it comes to Seattle, I'll give it to you and say this, given everything that's going on with the Seattle Seahawks, because like I said, it's not just running backs, it's everything. Defensively, you said it. I think you said it the last time we spoke. You said that ultimately they're going to get to the playoffs, but if it's their defense, that's going to fail them. Right now, I think their defense is ranked below 20th in all categories.
Yeah, absolutely.
Passing yards, rushing yards, total points, everything. It's extremely, extremely bad. You talk about that. You talk about a decimated O-line. You talk about the lack of depth at the running back position. And moving into Marshawn Lynch, who's, of course, beast mode, but is older. Can't ignore that. All those things encompassed. You still look at this team and you can't write them off just because of how great and who Russell Wilson really and truly is. I think for me, that's a testament to how much we respect his greatness and also how this team rallies around him. So it's going to be interesting to see. I'm ultimately looking forward to the division matchup. I'm looking forward to see who ultimately locks down the AFC wildcard game. But I mean, we in an interesting point in the year, man. It's not just football going on.
Indeed.
It's a whole lot of basketball going on.
Oh, yeah, because Christmas Day was yesterday.
It was yesterday.
We had some good basketball.
We had a lot of good basketball.
Because a lot of people were wondering, why are the Warriors playing on Christmas? Nobody wants to see a depleted Warriors team.
Nobody wants to see that.
People knew that Steph Curry would, my hand, I can no longer masturbate this year. As if people knew, Klay Thompson wouldn't return. But you knew that.
Yeah.
So they thought,
and no KD.
Exactly. And they thought, the Warriors just going to come out on the floor and get smizacked by the Rockets. No, that's not what happened.
Oh, no.
We had the Pelicans, no Zion, go out there and think, okay, they're going to defeat the Denver Nuggets, who are number 2 in the West. Nah. And what happens? They did. All right. And then you saw Giannis and the Bucks go up against this Philly team where we had questions all year. Yeah, the Bucks going to walk in there and take care of business. No. That's not what happened.
It was a crazy Christmas, bro.
It's not what happened. And then you had the LAs take on each other at full strength now.
The biggest one of them all, man.
And you thought, they're up by 15. It's the third quarter. The Lakers going to put this away. No.
Nah, bro.
Not at all.
They're not having that.
It was an absolute beautiful.
It was a great Christmas.
Beautiful Christmas in the case of good basketball. And I'll ask you this.
Yes, sir.
We'll start with the biggest game out of all of them. what was your thoughts of what happened in L.A.?
Oh, man. The Battle of Los Angeles. All in all, it was a pretty fun game to watch. Ultimately, it came down to the wire. And when you look at it, this was a winnable game by either of the teams, right? Either teams could have came out with a W with this one because the statistics on both ends were pretty identical. But I think ultimately it was, and a lot of the players did come out to say this, it really was the Lakers' game to win, and they just weren't able to get it done. When we look at what happened down the stretch, the last play of the game, right? The signature play of the game, LeBron James, couple seconds left on the clock. I believe they were down 3.
Yes.
Right?
They were down 3.
They were down 3. Patrick Beverley's guarding him. LeBron James should not have been the one to take that shot. We understand and recognize that he's the best player on the team, but if you need a 3-ball, and I said this to you at the beginning of the season, what did I say? The X factor of that team is going to be
Danny Green.
Danny Green. Why? Because for me, he's the best 3-point shooter on the team, and
Absolutely.
Down the stretch, especially against teams like him, you're going to need 3-point shooting. This goes all the way back to their earlier matchup against the Mavs, where remember who hit that, I don't know if you remember, but I was watching.
The corner
shot to send it to overtime against the Mavs.
Yep.
Danny Green. Now you come to yesterday's game, I guarantee, even if Patrick Beverley was on him, granted, but Danny Green, ultimately the X factor. Why? Because he's the 3 and D guy.
And I'll even throw out another name for you, especially
I already know
based
you're gonna
on last night. Kyle Kuzma.
I'm gonna get to him. Give me a second. I'm gonna get to him. But LeBron should not have taken that shot, especially given what was going on last night. LeBron James 2 for 12 from the 3-point line. I mean, it was absolutely going into the third. I believe he was 0 for 7.
0 for 7. He started. No, I think in midway through the second,
right?
He was like 0 for 7. He was not having a very good shooting day. Anthony Davis had 20 points, I believe, at the half.
Right.
Kyle Kuzma scored 15 in the first quarter, 19 in the first half overall.
Right.
And he was on some. I'm not too sure what the minute layout was, how Frank Vogel was playing him.
Right.
But he was on the bench far too long for how good he was performing.
Right.
Then you had Rondo on the floor here and there, Avery Bradley on the floor here and there, but not really contributing. And then all of a sudden, in the second half, Anthony Davis did not get the shot attempts for some apparent reason.
Right.
He was killing all day, and for some apparent reason, they're not taking the shot attempt. This is the questions that I continue to have about this Lakers team when we see them play as good as they can, and you see when the potential that they have when they play against these bigger teams, you start to ask yourself, what are they doing?
Well, I mean, this is a different team. You're talking about a team with 2 superstar forwards.
Absolutely.
Right?
But just the thought process, because I love the fact that you say LeBron shouldn't have been the one taking that shot. And it seemed like he said after the game, well, my groin, or something along those lines.
Right.
But still, it makes no sense to me how you can have a 15-point lead.
Lose it.
You lose it.
Yeah.
It gets tied up. You go on a 8-2 run. You once again extend it to 8-9.
Right.
The Clippers continue to close the gap, and your shot selection is abysmal. And continually, we have AD on the perimeter. Taking 3-point shots when this man is damn near unguardable in the paint. You got LeBron dropping back to go take 3-point shot with 2 for 11. Why are you outside?
2 for 12.
When you can slash to the paint and get baskets. It's just like their thought process just makes absolutely no sense to me. For what I learned from this game is the Clippers are the better team in L.A., regardless of what the record is, because, they rallied up some losses before Paul George had came back regardless. But defensively, they're a very tough team, and only a few number of teams can actually, match up with them. And I believe this will be the conference final.
I hope it's the conference final.
I do as well, and I've gone on the record and said the NBA semifinals will be the best basketball that you've seen all decade. Unfortunately, it's going to be played in 2020, so all decade will be the first year of the decade. So if you look at the 10-year calendar year, I believe that's NBA Western Conference semifinals will be the best basketball. But I believe this will be the conference final, but for the Lakers, it's all mental.
I agree with you.
This is a game they could have won. It's not as if the Clippers are the better team, but just defensively, they are. But I think LA's just missing one piece. Hopefully they can wait on Iggy to get bought out, and then they go and sign him. Maybe a DeMarcus Cousins coming back, whatever the case may be. They're about one piece away, and they got to fix their mental.
You want to know what it is? I hear you coming. Would I say that the Clippers are the better team? I'm not going to. You can say that, but for me personally, I'm not going to go that far yet. I think that they're definitely the tougher team, and they're the better defensive team, and they're the only team that can stifle. I don't want to say stifle because LeBron is still going to go out there and get his, but they do the best job defending LeBron. And it's not just, of course, the two superstar forwards in a Paul George and a Kawhi Leonard, but also a Patrick Beverly. As small as he is, this man gets under everybody's skin, right? So it's the mental aspect of it as well. But I like the Lakers better just for the simple fact that I still believe that LeBron James still is the best player in the league. I think that right now the Lakers have arguably the best pick and roll that we've seen since Shaq and Kobe in LeBron and Anthony Davis. You understand what I'm saying? And I think that one thing they should explore doing, and this go once again, I recognize my point about the whole Danny Green being the X factor, but I think they should explore switching Danny Green with Kyle Kuzma and have just try out Kyle Kuzma starting and then have Danny Green come off the bench. Because ultimately, when you look at the way that Danny Green has performed all season, he is a 3-and-D guy to the death, to where it's like there's certain games where if he's not getting his from three, he's almost a non-factor offensively. You understand what I'm saying? Whereas with Kyle Kuzma, he's shown you not just this year, but even earlier on, he's not as good defensively as Danny Green is, but offensively, he has more tools in his basket than Danny does. He has the three. He has the mid-range. He can take it inside, all these other different things. So I think that would help him out until they can figure out what other pieces they can bring. You mentioned the Iggy. I saw someone else also mention, I think someone was talking about seeing if they could sign Jamal Crawford, because we know he's somewhere out there.
Yeah, he's still out there.
I heard another person mention trying to trade for D-Rose, but I don't think the Pistons are going to let that happen. That's not going to happen at all. But I like this Lakers team, but I love the Los Angeles Clippers, just given how they just play with a chip on their shoulder.
Absolutely.
Man. They just play with a different kind of attitude. Like with the Lakers, you got flash and finesse. They're not really looking to bang it out with you. But with the Clippers, they almost come in wanting to be the underdog, so they can make you look stupid afterwards. You understand what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
I love that team, but ultimately, I think I'm going to roll with the Lakers to be the better team. But then you also mentioned something else. You talk about the groin injury. I think he said there was something about like when he took a chalk.
Re-aggravated. He said something where he was headed towards the paint. And
right. And then I think he didn't play the game before that, but I think it was for something else. I'm not too sure. What are your thoughts on the groin injury? Do you think it's serious? Is it something we should be concerned about? Should they sit him? What do you thought?
I think it's something that the Lakers should be concerned about.
Okay.
For the fans and everything, there's nothing really to be concerned.
Gotcha.
Because I believe AD can continue to keep this team winning, whether LeBron's there or not to the same, level that LeBron would keep them winning.
Right.
But AD can keep them over 500 of their games. Yeah. So if I'm a Lakers fan, I would say, oh no, as long as LeBron will be healthy by the time, the All-Star break and get 2 weeks off or more rest and relaxation, we good.
And also, you got to think about it age-wise. The man is turning 35 this upcoming Monday,
yes.
Right? And you look at the production. I mean, this man, 25.7 points, 7.6 assists, 10.6 rebounds in year 17. You understand? As much of a freak of nature that LeBron is, Father Time is undefeated.
Absolutely.
I know he was talking about, well, if I'm great, I'm going to play or whatever. He needs some type of rest. And I think that even if the groin injury isn't that serious, if he can get a week or two off just to give his body a chance to relax, like you said, this isn't the Lakers team of last year. Ironically enough, he caught his groin injury on Christmas Day last year, the same way it was this year. But last year's team is nothing like this year's team. You have an Anthony Davis and you have pieces around him where the Lakers can keep their head afloat if need be, for LeBron James to get some rest. So I think ultimately it would be smart for this Los Angeles Lakers team, if they can get LeBron some rest, regardless of how serious this injury is, rest him. That way, when the postseason comes where it really and truly does matter, that this man can play. But there was also another Christmas Day game that was going on that you mentioned between a Golden State Warriors team that played a Houston Rockets team. Right, they were playing at home at the Chase Bank Center, right, for the Golden State Warriors. A lot of people thought it was about to be a walk in the park. A lot of people were even questioning, like you said, why the Golden State Warriors were playing in the first place. But surprisingly enough, the Warriors were able to thug it out and come out with the W. Who would have thought? But what are your thoughts on what you saw last night?
They're in Houston's head. They're in Houston's head all day. The Houston Rockets are the Western Conference version of the Toronto Raptors when it comes to Golden State.
Okay.
The same way Toronto feared LeBron, the Houston Rockets fear Golden State.
Yep.
2 years ago, you could tell me all day about the Chris Paul injury.
Right.
And I'll agree with you. If Chris Paul's on the floor in game 6 or 7,
we have a different conversation.
Even if he doesn't if he's not in a suit and he's in a jersey, they win that game. But that's not what happened.
Right.
So 4 of 5 years, this team has taken you out of the playoffs.
Right.
You have switched your team multiple times over. And still, you cannot put them away.
Doesn't make sense.
It's a mental sort of thing. If I'm Houston, I shouldn't be too concerned because you're not going to see Golden State in the playoffs.
Right.
But I would wonder, why is it that this is the game that you lose? And it continues to be the same problem. It's iso ball. It's my turn basketball.
Yes, sir.
You're never going to win like that.
Right.
Sometimes it's Harden. Next times it's Westbrook. Why don't you just play team basketball? They are the epitome of what we saw in the Phoenix 2000 Suns.
Right.
However, Phoenix was all about team basketball, but no defense. What we're seeing is me basketball, but no defense.
Well, it's funny you bring up the 2006 Phoenix Suns because who's coaching that team if you don't remember?
D'Antoni.
Oh, who's coaching this team right now?
D'Antoni.
And you want to know what's funny about Mike D'Antoni?
It's him.
Well, funny enough, a lot of people call him Mike Antoni because in his system, there is no defense. And that was a big part of what we saw last night. You talk about the mental part, but defensively, this team, I mean, listen, man. Last night, and I'm going to read off the stats here. The Rockets couldn't stop everybody. Do you know that last night, everybody in the starting 5 for the Golden State Warriors scored double-digit points?
Oh, yeah.
3 of which of those people scored 20+. And not only did they score that much, but everybody was efficient. Draymond from the field, 8 for 14 from the field, 2 for 4 from 3. Glenn Robinson, 6 for 13 from the field, 2 for 2 from 3. D'Angelo Russell, he missed 10 threes, but he was still 8 for 19 from the field. The team as a whole was shooting 47% from the field. They were having their way with a Houston Rockets team, which, by the way, has a Clint Capella, has a PJ Tucker, which are supposed to be the defensive anchors for the team. Ultimately, we gotta put them on a milk carton or something because I can't find them. So there's that, and then offensively, like you said, this iso ball system that D'Antoni just can't seem to get away from is once again looking like it's going to be the reason why they get kicked out in the playoffs. Because when you look at it, the team, even though you have an MVP in a Russell Westbrook and a James Harden, it's James Harden's team. Let's just call it what it is.
Absolutely.
And the thing about James Harden is if he's not able to go out there and do what we know he can do, it's going to stifle the team because now you're going to look to Russell Westbrook to save the day. And we know that Russell Westbrook's biggest problem is shot selection and inefficiency, right? But when you look at James Harden last night, on the season, this man is averaging 12 free throw attempts a game. Last night, he only got off 1, right? And then on the game, I think he had I don't even have it in front of me, but I think he only had like 24 points or something like that.
It was very low. I don't even think he was in the 20s. I think he might have had 18 or maybe 19.
18 or something like that.
It was, yeah.
He wasn't able to get to the line. You understand what I'm saying? And now he was 6 for 10 from the 3, so he was able to get off from there. But outside of those 6 threes, he only took 3 other field goals from the field, and I don't even think he made those.
Yeah.
So when James Harden isn't able to get to the line, when he isn't able to get going, ultimately, like I said, the team has to go through Russell Westbrook. And what Russ showed you last night is just he is who he is. Yes, he's a walking triple-double, but in a situation like this, last night, Russell Westbrook, 0 from 8 from 3. We know he's not a good three-point shooter, right? And he was 11 for 32 from the field. So defensively and offensively, the team is nothing more than just another Mike D'Antoni prototype of, we're not going to play defense, we're going to run through one motherfucker, and we just going to hope we beat you, right? And you've seen it all throughout the season. Even those games, we talk about the numbers that James Harden is putting up, but a lot of the games that he's up here putting up 30, 40, and 50, they're not winning every single one of those games by huge margins. They're winning by like 5 points, 6 points. Why? Because on the other end of the floor, the team is having their way. So James Harden almost kind of has to put up these numbers because the team is always kind of trying to keep their head above water. And come playoff time, what do we see? We always talk about how James Harden becomes a shell of himself. It's not necessarily that he becomes a shell of himself. Once again, if he can't get to the line, it hampers his game. And in the playoffs, they're not calling it their way that they call it in the regular season. You understand? So he gets to the playoffs. He's looking for certain calls that he's not getting. Now you have a Russell Westbrook who's adding to the element. We haven't seen them yet in the postseason. But once again, Russell Westbrook is going to be as inefficient as he's always been. So I think it's just going to be a repeat more or less of what we've been seeing from this team. And it's sad. It's
semifinal elimination. It really is disappointing. It's really disappointing.
It's really, really it's really, really sad, man. But ultimately, like I said, last night was a tale for the ages in terms of Christmas Day basketball. But that was the West.
Mm-hmm.
Out in the East now, we got a lot of good basketball happening there too. A lot of good teams, right? Philadelphia 76ers, your Miami Heat, the Milwaukee Bucks, the Boston Celtics. Don't sleep on the Pacers. Don't sleep. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of good basketball happening in the East, but only one can be the best, the beast of the East, so to speak. And I got to ask you, given that your favorite team is in the Eastern Conference,
absolutely,
I don't know if you're going to have any bias, right?
None whatsoever.
This might be a slip, just a slivage. Who would you say right now in the season is the best team in the East?
That's easy. It's the Milwaukee Bucks. And let me tell you, all right, even though that they lost to Philadelphia, and initially I said Philadelphia would be the one coming out of the East. However, I have a bit of, I cannot say I can lean more towards Philly winning, because although they did defeat Milwaukee, I don't think they'll beat Milwaukee in a 7-game series.
I don't either.
I look at it like this. There's only 2 people who can guard Giannis. Kawhi Leonard, Joel Embiid. Here's the problem, though. Milwaukee has all of these other shooters around. If Joel Embiid has to guard Giannis, who has been working on his jump shot,
and
for a 7-game series, Giannis will have to, if he plays it smart, rather than constantly charge at the paint, I'm going to start to step further back. I'm going to go to the elbow. I might just go to the 3-point line.
Right.
When I pull Joel Embiid out, Giannis isn't a bad passer. Now I open up the lane for backdoor cuts and everything else.
Right.
So more people will eat. As we saw yesterday, Middleton had 31 points, I believe. And
I believe so.
Giannis only scored 18. But unfortunately, they came up short.
Right.
Although that we did see Philly win, as I said, I don't think they'll be able to win in a 7-game series. So I'll have to say Milwaukee will be the best in the East. And I look at it like this. If for Philly to make it to the conference finals or make it to the finals, they have to avoid Milwaukee early. Because if they fall to that 4 seed, they will see Milwaukee in the second round. And that's not what you want. If they play against a team like Boston, I think the Sixers can beat Boston. They play against a team like Miami, I think there could be trouble. I believe they could beat Miami. However, Miami's bench is ridiculous.
Man,
ridiculous. And if Jimmy Butler, already knowing how he feels in Philly, if you think he's not gonna walk into Philly and put on a show,
he's bugging out now. He's bugging out.
It's going to be a 7-game series, and it can literally go either way. So I'm saying Milwaukee's the best in the East.
You want to know what bothers me about this question? You want to know who should be the best team in the East easily? The Philadelphia 76ers. Because they have it on both sides of the ball. Defensively, you have Al Horford and a Joel Embiid. And then offensively, once again, a Joel Embiid. You add a Josh Richardson who has been showing up, right? And but the biggest problem that the 76ers team seems to have is that the person who's supposed to be their best player, Ben Simmons, just I mean, 14 points on the season, 6'10", can pass like no other, court vision out the wazoo. He has all the intangibles and the tangibles, and the man just can't seem to figure it out. And he just got paid.
He did.
Just got paid. Joel Embiid, we saw earlier a little bit for the past couple games, I think before the whole Shaq and Charles Barkley thing. There were some questions about his effort, but ultimately first off, he's been healthy.
Yep. There
hasn't been any problems with Joel Embiid health-wise, so we got to give him credit for that. Not that he has any real control over it, but still, he's been available. But Ben Simmons, if Ben Simmons were able to step up and just show any sort of sign that this man's jumper is on the way, we'd be having a totally different conversation right now, and Philly would be the undeclarable best team in the East. We could probably make an argument that if that was the case, they'd probably be one of the best teams, if not the best, in the NBA. But that's not them. I'm looking at a team in a Boston Celtics as well. very impressive given what happened last season. I will be the one to admit that I was wrong, right? Because Kemba coming to Boston, I thought it was going to be a very lateral move from Kyrie to Kemba, given that they have similar play styles. But now, no, that is not the case.
They're playing
at
better
all.
basketball.
Jason Tatum is right back on track from what we saw his rookie season. Jaylen Brown, who was questioned a lot about him getting paid, he's been showing up.
Absolutely.
This team is looking phenomenal. However, I do have some questions about them defensively on the front court, right? Because you have Enes Kanter, and I forget who the other center is. I'm not too sure. But
Baines, I think. Maybe?
Aaron Baines as well. Aaron Baines is, but so I have some questions about their front court, but there is no questions about the backcourt. Then you have this Milwaukee Bucks team. I think I'm gonna have to give it to them. I was a little apprehensive at first, just because you said, like I said, playoff wise, what we've seen the past couple of years is that teams that win are teams with at least two superstars, preferably those of two-way power forward type build. And right now, the only superstar that they have on that team is Giannis. But given the pieces around him, I'm loving what I'm seeing from Chris Middleton. I'm loving what I'm seeing from the team as a whole. I think I'm gonna roll with the Bucks. But teams to look out for. I said it in the beginning, and I'm gonna say it again now. Your Miami Heat are very scary. There's something about that team when they get to the playoffs. They're not a walk in the park, man. I'm saying it. Tyler Hero is a bad boy. Kendrick Nunn is looking like a runaway rookie of the year candidate. Jimmy Butler is showing up and showing out each and every single night. I'm loving what I'm seeing from them. And also, what other team? The Toronto Raptors. Once again, do not sleep on the Toronto Raptors. Pascal Siakam is balling his face off. Fred VanVleet is showing up. Kyle Lowry's balling. I mean, the East for me is looking very, very good, but ultimately I think I'm going to have to give it to the Bucks. I think the Bucks are running away with it right now just because I think Giannis is leading the team in points, assists, and rebounds. The man is absolutely unstoppable. He's doing it all. And unlike a Ben Simmons, his shot is improving. And it's only going to get better as the season progresses.
And that's what I love the most about him, because he identifies where his Achilles heel is. And he doesn't say, it's just something I don't have. No, he wants to work on it and get better. No. I honestly believe we saw Bill Russell pass the torch to Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Or actually, he passed it to Wilt Chamberlain. Right. Wilt Chamberlain passed it to Kareem. Kareem passed it to Magic and Larry. Right. Magic and Larry passed it to Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan passed it to Kobe and Shaq. Or hell, passed it to Kobe. Kobe and Tim Duncan, I should say, because we can't just discount Duncan, regardless of the fact that Kobe was a much bigger star. But come on now. We know Tim Duncan, Kobe, they're on the same thing. So, and then ultimately we saw those two give it to LeBron. And I believe in the 2020s, it's not going to be passed over to a Luka. It's not going to be passed to a Trae Young. It's not going to be passed to a Kyrie or a KD or a Steph or all these other guys. It's going to Giannis. Yeah. And I believe that Giannis will carry the NBA to newer heights. And this man is just somebody who wins the MVP and says, nah, that's not enough. Right. I got to get better.
Most definitely.
And you see the joy and elation that he plays basketball. It's just beautiful.
The team
man.
rallies around him. Yeah. The NBA loves him. He can be the face of this entire league. He's well on his way. It's scary to see what like you said, his game is only getting better. We go all the way back to his rookie season. The man came into the league averaging like 8 points. Now, just last year you won MVP. Who's to say he can't win another? Who's to say we can win 2, 3 more? The man is an absolute beast, man. So like I said, I'm loving what I'm seeing in the East. I'm loving what I'm seeing in the West. I'm loving what I'm seeing from the sports world in general. We got a lot more sports coming up. But ladies and gentlemen, this is episode 18, the last episode of 2019. I mean, my goodness, I might just cry if I had emotions, but I don't. I'm excited for the new year. We got a lot of things coming. This year's been fun, but 2020 is going to be even better. Appreciate y'all for tuning in. As always, I am your host with the most, Marv Glover.
And the diligent, vigilant, meticulous, sagacious, conscientious, analytical, methodical individual, the Chisel Adonis. And you are listening to FM 87. Nah, you can.
We tuned into Hold My Nuggets podcast. That's why I said it, the last episode of 2019, episode 18. Tune in 2020. More fire. You understand? More. Listen, we got more sports, more real shit, and we got it 100% of the time. 100%. And let me let you know something. If you don't like that, you can hold my nuggets.
Suck my dick.
Thank you. Happy New Year. Happy holidays. Good night.